This is St. Mark's Square in Venice, Italy. This city is one of the most beautiful in the world and so unique because it sits on wooden stilts. Join me in this video as we discover some of the city's off-the-beaten-path locations that most tourists never see, led by a local Venetian. Let's go. When you come to St. Mark's Square, you can take a look inside St. Mark's Basilica behind me, or take a tour of Doge's Palace. You can also just kind of sit around and enjoy the ambiance. You can, of course, get a cup of coffee or a drink at one of these tables nearby, but just keep in mind it's gonna come at a price because of the location. We took a walking tour with Riccardo to explore beyond Venice's crowded highlights, deep into the heart of the city's most authentic neighborhoods, Canals and Castello. Every step with Riccardo unveiled a side of Venice you'd never find on your own. As we wandered through quiet alleyways, Riccardo shared stories and secrets that only a true Venetian could know. From ancient architecture to hidden courtyards, each discovery was a peek into the real Venice, full of life and local color. The tour with Riccardo is an invitation to see Venice through the eyes of someone who lives and breathes the city. He really makes sure that you can make the most of your visit, saving you time and money with local tips. I've put a link to his tour in the description below in case you want to check it out. One of the first places Riccardo took us on our tour was the Scuola Grande della Misericordia in the Canals neighborhood. Originally built in the Middle Ages, the Misericordia was one of Venice's schools. He told us the story of how it's transformed over the centuries, even at one point housing the state archives and then a bus training facility. The most breathtaking stops on our tour with Riccardo was the Church of St. Mary of Miracles, affectionately known as the Marble Church. This architectural gem is a standout example of the early Venetian Renaissance. Apparently, if couples want to get married here, the waitlist is over 2 years, so be sure to plan in advance. At just over 20 inches wide, this is the most narrow alley in Venice. It's pretty fun to walk through it, but just be sure you go in one person at a time. Next, Riccardo led us to the Campo Santi Giovanni e Paolo. This square is defined by a basilica on one side and a hospital on the other. The facades of the two buildings sharply contrast against one another, one marble and one brick. It was great listening to the history of how these two buildings came to be. Then we moved over to the statue of Bartolomeo Colleoni. Riccardo had some fascinating stories to tell about this one. The thing about Venice is that there's so much history here. There's so many stories that you would never know it unless you take a tour. And that's why I think taking a walking tour like this one with Riccardo is so helpful, because there's just like so many strange and also funny stories behind things. It's great. All right, now we are ending the tour on top of the Fondaco de Tedeschi, and it's beautiful here. This is one of the best views in all of Venice, and definitely one of my favorite places. You can just see so much of the Grand Canal on both sides. You can see the Campanile and St. Mark's Basilica over here. And then you can just see a 360 of just everything. All the terracotta roofs, it's just gorgeous. Definitely come here. It's a part of Riccardo's tour, which is really nice. And it's just a great way to say buongiorno to the city. After our tour ended, we took Riccardo's recommendations and continued to explore the lesser-known parts of Venice all on our own. The Basilica di Santa Maria della Salute, also known as La Salute, is located in the Dossoduro neighborhood of Venice. The facade is incredible, and the views of the water from here are also breathtaking. that, head over to the Punta della Dogana.
We are at the Punta della Dogana, which is this point, and from here you have like a huge panoramic view of Venice, and it's so beautiful here. Definitely a off the beaten path spot to come that most tourists don't know about. Highly recommend checking this out, especially at sunset. It's super romantic if you can catch the sun that probably just disappears into the water here. It's amazing.
We lucked out and found ourselves wandering through the exhibits of the Venice Biennale during its opening week in April. Curated by the acclaimed Adriano Pedrosa, this sprawling exhibition showcases the innovative works of over 330 artists from around 90 countries. The Biennale features art installations, sculptures, and more art that dive deep into the pressing social and cultural issues of today. If you're planning a trip to Venice in the next few months, you're in luck. The Biennale runs until November. Don't miss this incredible opportunity to witness a global dialogue in art right in the heart of Venice.
All right, so we're hanging out right now with my friend Riccardo, who is a tour guide in Venice. He gave us the tour earlier. Thank you for being here and chatting with me, Riccardo.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So how long have you lived in Venice for?
More than 13 years, actually.
Wow. And have you been a tour guide that whole time?
No, since almost 8 years.
What kind of tours do you give?
I usually do tours in the less crowded areas of the city, most authentic one, let's say, but just because I already live in the center of the city. And I hate to be in the crowd while working also because you can't basically communicate with people because it's too crowded. And it's simply not, in my opinion, it's not nice even for the tourists. So I prefer to show them the most quiet areas that are beautiful as well, and they're very enjoyable. And I mean, it seems like they are appreciating the tours they do. So.
I think it's super nice that tourists have the opportunity to see beyond St. Mark's Square, because everybody goes to St. Mark's Square, and of course it's a beautiful place, but with your tour, it's really nice to have the chance to see the other side, to be taken to the places that are not so obvious. So that's why I've always loved your tour, and I recommend it to everyone who comes to Venice.
When I travel, I think it's always nicer to ask to someone to show you the less known places because everybody is able to reach the main areas of the city just following the crowd basically. And you can always read something about the main spots. Of course, you don't want to study by yourself, you want someone telling you, but you will never discover enough about the less crowded areas that in the case of Venice are, to me, sometimes even better than the central areas. So they're more enjoyable and sometimes more beautiful than the central area where everybody goes.
That's so true because there are so many crowds here during certain times of year especially, and so being able to see the quieter areas, it makes a lot of sense. And being guided by you, honestly, it takes the stress off, honestly, because Venice is like a true labyrinth and I get lost in 5 minutes or less. So when I'm on one of your tours, it's the best thing because I can just like relax, take my photos and listen to the history. So it's really great.
If you have videos of the tour with me, you will see that around there's basically no one. So that's the nicest part. So you can talk with people, you can interact with everybody. You don't have to mind about the crowd around or you don't need to scream to people. So being in areas like this is more relaxing and more enjoyable for everybody.
Thanks for joining me on this off-the-beaten-path tour of Venice. If you loved exploring these hidden gems of Venice, don't forget to subscribe for more captivating videos from Italy coming soon. And if you're planning a trip to Venice, be sure to check out Riccardo's tours in the description below for an authentic and unforgettable experience. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications to be notified when I post more videos. Arrivederci, ragazzi!